Good morning, everyone. Today's topic is radiology of bone tumors. This is Dr. Lakshmi MT, Assistant Professor, Department of Radiodiagnosis. Coming to bone tumors, it can either be classified according to location of the tumor within the bone or according to the age of onset of the presentation. Coming to location, it can be classified according to diaphyseal tumors, metaphyseal tumors, and epiphyseal tumors. Coming to diaphyseal tumors, most common are Ewing sarcoma, lymphoma, and myeloma, adamantinoma, osteoidostoma, and chondromyxate fibroma. Coming to metaphyseal tumor, osteosarcomas, enchondromas, simple bone cyst, fibrous cortical defect, and osteochondromas. Coming to epiphyseal tumors, there are mainly two tumors, chondroblastoma and osteoclastoma, otherwise called GCT, giant cell tumor. These bone tumors can be either classified into lytic lesions and sclerotic lesions. Lytic lesions basically indicates destruction of the bone leading to radiolucency in the radiograph. Coming to lytic lesions in the bone in less than 30 years, these are Ewing sarcoma, leukemia, and osteosarcoma. More than 30 years, metastasis, myeloma, and lymphoma, and giant cell tumor. Coming to sclerotic bone lesions, bone tumors. Basically, in sclerotic bone lesions, these bone tumors deposit excess of bone tissue within the bone matrix, leading to increased density of the bone. Examples in less than 30 years are osteosarcoma, enchondroma, osteochondroma, and osteoma. In more than 30 years, perosteal osteosarcoma, chondrosarcoma, and non-ossified fibroma. Coming to individual bone tumors, again bone tumors can be classified into bone forming tumors and cartilage forming tumors. Coming to cartilage forming benign bone tumor, this is osteochondroma. As indicates, it has osteoid component, that is bony component, chondroid component, that is cartilage component, and chondroma. Oma means benign. So it's benign cartilage forming bone tumor of the bones. Coming to first X-ray, this is the X-ray AP X-ray of the right knee joint, showing polypoidal growth arising from the lateral medial aspect of the femur, metaphysis, mainly metaphysis. Coming to second image, this is the T1 weighted MRI image showing same polypoidal lesion arising from the medial aspect of the femur. Coming to the third image, it shows bright hyperintense cap on the polypoidal lesion. This indicates cartilage. Basically, we measure the thickness of this cartilage cap on MRI images. If the thickness is more than 2 cm or 2.5 cm, then it indicates it's advancing into malignancy. So this osteochondroma can lead to chondrosarcoma. Coming to fourth image, this is the volume rendered CT image showing the polypoidal osteochondroma arising from the medial aspect of the femoral metaphysis. Coming to another bone cartilage forming tumor, this is enchondroma. Basically, anything which starts with N, N means enchondroma, enostosis, which is limited within the bone cortex. So basically, you are seeing AP X-ray of the hand showing mildly expansile lytic lesion in the mid diaphysis of the phalanx metacarpal, which is showing scalloping of the borders and pathological fracture of the cortex. And the central lytic matrix shows calcification, ground glass calcification. This is basically cartilage calcification within the enchondroma. Basically, enchondromas will involve short tubular bones such as metacarpals and phalanges, and it will cause lytic expansile lesion with scalloping of margins with thinned out cortex and occasionally pathological fractures. and centrally we will have chondrite matrix calcification with ground glass appearance. If same this enchondromas appear in multiple sites in the same individual, that is in multiple short tubular bones in metatarsals, phalanges of the hands, phalanges of the toes and metacarpals, then it's called Olier's disease. So multiple enchondromas in a single patient, it's called Olier's disease. In the picture A, you are seeing AP radiograph of the hand showing multiple enchondromas in the metacarpals and the phalanges. In the figure B, you are showing AP radiograph of the foot with showing multiple enchondromas in the proximal phalanges of the foot. Okay. Coming to Maffucci syndrome, this is similar to Olier's disease, but it has additional component. That is, Maffucci syndrome will have multiple enchondromas plus multiple soft tissue hemangiomas. In the figure A, you are seeing multiple lytic lesions in the phalanges and the metacarpals, and also you are seeing soft tissue masses with calcifications. These calcifications represent phlebolyths, calcification of the venous channels within the soft tissue hemangiomas. So these typical calcifications will have radiolucent center. This is the characteristic feature of the phlebolyths. Coming to picture B, here also you can see multiple soft tissue density within the forearm with multiple calcifications. And picture C shows multiple calcification with soft tissue density lesions. So Maffucci syndrome involves multiple enchondromas plus soft tissue hemangiomas. Coming to hemangioma, most common site for the bone hemangioma is the vertebral bodies. In the first image shows sagittal CT section of the vertebral bodies showing multiple vertical striations. These are the thickened prominent trabeculae within the hemangioma. This appearance is called corduroy cloth appearance, or also called jail bar appearance. Coming to second image, this is the axial image of the vertebral body showing multiple round white dots within the vertebral body. This appearance is called polka dot appearance. This both corduroy cloth appearance and polka dot appearance is typical of vertebral body hemangioma. This is basically abnormal proliferation of the immature blood vessels within the bone, forming a benign tumor, that is cavernous hemangioma within the bone. Coming to one more benign cartilage forming tumor in children, this is chondroblastoma. AP X-ray of the knee showing lytic mildly expansile lesion involving the epiphysis of the tibia, and it shows one septation and prominent trabeculae. Typically it presents with pain and swelling in the knee joint. Most common site is tibial epiphysis, and most common location is epiphysis. Coming to simple bone cyst, this simple bone cyst presents as a well-defined lytic lesion within the bone, and it will not expand the bony cortex. So coming to first image, AP X-ray of the left hip joint with femur showing well-defined lytic lesion involving the intertrochanteric region and the neck of the femur. Coming to second image, again well-defined lytic lesion which is non-expansile with thinned out cortex, and again you are seeing curved arrow which is showing fracture of the cortex. Once the cortex is fractured, the fragment will fall within the cavity of the simple bone cyst. The arrowhead indicates the fallen fragment. This is called fallen fragment sign. Again, third picture shows lytic lesion in the proximal metaphysis of the humerus showing fallen fragment sign. Pathological fracture plus fallen fragment sign. Coming to aneurysmal bone cyst. So basic difference between simple bone cyst and aneurysmal bone cyst is, simple bone cyst will have only single cavity. Aneurysmal bone cyst will have multiple lobulations. And aneurysmal bone cyst, as name indicates, it expands the bone and it will cause expansion of the bony cortex. Simple bone cyst will not cause expansion. Coming to first image, showing lytic expansion lesion involving the diaphysis of the ulna, and the arrowheads indicate sclerosis of the proximal and distal bones. Picture B showing lytic expansion lesion of the metaphysis of the fibular bone with multiple lobulations. Picture C shows large expansion lesion involving the tibial metaphysis with multiple fluid levels. This fluid levels is typical of aneurysmal bone cyst on MRI. This fluid levels occurs due to recurrent hemorrhage within the loculations of the tumor. So fluid levels. Coming to giant cell tumor, this is similar to aneurysmal bone cyst, but location is epiphysis. There are only two epiphyseal tumor, that is giant cell tumor and chondroblastoma. Coming to first image, AP X-ray of the wrist joint and proximal forearm showing lytic expansion lesion of the radius, which is subarticular in location, and multiple prominent trabeculae. Rest of the trabeculae are destroyed and remaining trabeculae will become thick and prominent. This appearance of multiple loculations with thickened trabeculae will lead to soap bubble appearance. So giant cell tumor, epiphyseal tumor, soap bubble appearance and subarticular location. These giant cell tumors are most common in radius, and those which present in radial epiphysis are more prone for malignancy. Coming to benign bone forming tumor, that is osteoma. Picture A shows a well-defined lobulated hyperdense lesion within the left frontal sinus. And picture B shows same hyperdense opacified lesion within the left frontal sinus, which indicates osteoma, also called ivory osteoma, most common in the paranasal sinuses. There is one more osteoma called osteoid osteoma. This is most common in the diaphysis of the young adults or young children. In figure A, you are seeing central ill-defined oval shaped radiolucent nidus. This is the main center of the osteoid osteoma, and surrounding cortex shows reactive sclerosis and cortical thickening and periosteal reaction. Picture B shows reactive cortical thickening with periosteal reaction. Typically, these young adolescents with osteoid osteoma presents with night cries, pain more during the night, and this pain is relieved by non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. Coming to adamantinoma, this is called adamantinoma because of its difficulty in treating this tumor and aggressive nature of the tumor. Picture A shows mixed lytic and sclerotic lesion causing mild expansion of the tibial diaphysis. Picture B, lateral radiograph of the tibia showing mixed lytic sclerotic lesion with destruction of the mid diaphysis of the tibia. Most common locations are mandible and tibia and most difficult to treat. Coming to most common primary bone tumor, that is primary bone forming tumor, osteosarcoma, malignant tumor. Osteosarcoma can present either as lytic lesion or sclerotic lesion. 50% of it will present as lytic lesion as shown in picture A. Lytic permeative destruction of the humerus head and proximal metaphysis and diaphysis. Picture B showing sclerosis of the humerus head and metaphysis with periosteal reaction. Again, picture showing osteosarcoma involving the distal femur. Picture A showing AP view of the femur with sclerosis of the femoral cortex, and you are seeing perpendicular periosteal reaction arising from the cortex. This is called sunburst periosteal reaction. Picture B again shows osteosarcoma with sclerosis of the femur with radiating periosteal reaction, that is sunburst periosteal reaction. There are basically two things happen within the osteosarcoma. One is Codman's triangle and sunburst periosteal reaction. Sunburst. Codman's triangle happens due to this tumor infiltrates along the periosteum and it lifts the periosteum up. This will form a small triangular shaped lesion. This is called Codman's triangle. And periosteal reaction occurs due to reactive osteoid deposition along the tumor vessels perpendicular to the tumor. So this is called sunburst or sunray periosteal reaction, typical of osteosarcoma. One is Codman's triangle and sunburst periosteal reaction. Coming to Ewing sarcoma, basically this Ewing sarcoma occurs in children and it's diaphyseal tumor. It causes lytic permeative lesion within the diaphysis with multiple lamellated periosteal reaction. This lamellated periosteal reaction is called onion peel appearance. So picture A shows multiple lamellated periosteal reaction. Picture B again shows permeative destruction of the humerus with lamellated periosteal appearance, that is onion skin or onion peel appearance. Coming to chondrosarcoma, this is malignant counterpart of the osteochondroma. Picture A shows lytic destructive lesion involving the proximal metaphysis and diaphysis of the left femur. You can also see thickened trabeculae and calcifications and soft tissue mass medially. Picture B shows AP radiograph of the pelvis with large well-defined lobulated mass involving the pubic symphysis, pubis and this lesion shows multiple calcification, chondrite calcification, that is ring and arc calcification. This is typical of chondrosarcoma. This lobulated cloudy lesion involving the pelvis with ring and arc calcification is typical of chondrosarcoma. Coming to lymphoma, again it occurs in elderly patients. Typically it presents as permeative destructive lesion in the diaphysis. Picture A shows AP radiograph of the left femur showing permeative lesion involving the proximal diaphysis with horizontal fracture, displaced fracture. Any lesion which causes fracture is called pathological fracture, so not due to trauma. So this is the tumor which is causing fracture. So lymphoma causing pathological fracture. Picture B shows ill-defined lesion involving the distal diaphysis of the femur. Permeative destruction you can see within the diaphysis and there is no fracture in the picture B. Coming to multiple myeloma, again this is the common bone tumor involving the flat bones, basically flat bones. Typically it presents as multiple punched out lesions of varying sizes. In picture A you can see lateral radiograph of the skull showing multiple round punched out lesions in the calvarial bones. Second picture shows AP radiograph of the humerus showing multiple punched out lesions in the diaphysis. Third picture again shows AP radiograph of the humerus of different patient showing a well defined punched out lesion in the diaphysis. This is the CT and MRI images of the multiple myeloma patient showing multiple lytic punched out lesions in the vertebral bodies. Some of the vertebral bodies show compression collapse and compression fractures. Again MRI shows same multiple hypointense lesions in the vertebral bodies with collapse compression of the some of the vertebral bodies. Coming to metastatic lesions of the bone, this can either be classified into blastic metastasis or sclerotic metastasis and lytic metastasis. Common causes of blastic metastasis are prostate primary and breast primary. Picture A shows multiple well-defined round sclerotic white lesions involving the pelvic bones and sacrum. Picture B showing multiple sclerotic hyperdense lesions involving the sacral bone and the iliac bones. Third picture showing the lateral radiograph of the skull with two well-defined sclerotic lesions anteriorly and posteriorly within the frontal bone and parietal bone. So most common primary causing this white sclerotic metastasis are prostate carcinoma in males and in females breast carcinoma. Coming to lytic metastasis, these metastatic lesions typically cause destruction of the bone and it will be typically expansive lesions. Coming to first top three images showing lytic destruction of the posterior aspect of the ribs. First image shows complete destruction. Second image shows expansional destruction of the middle two ribs, and third image shows large lytic expansional destruction of the posterior aspect of the rib. Second row, first image shows CT image, axial section showing lytic expansional lesions involving the calvarial bone, one in the right frontal bone and the left parietal bone. And the second image in the second lower row shows two lytic lesions in the proximal diaphysis of the femur, and the proximal lesion is causing pathological fracture. This is the example of lytic metastasis. Coming to summary, Olius disease, multiple enchondromas, Maffucci syndrome, enchondromas and hemangiomas, osteochondroma, cartilage cap, simple bone cyst, fallen fragment sign, aneurysmal bone cyst, fluid levels in MRI, giant cell tumor, palpable appearance, osteosarcoma, Codman's triangle, Ewing sarcoma, onion peel, chondrosarcoma, ring and dark calcification, lytic mets, renal cell carcinoma and thyroid primary, blastic mets, breast and prostate primary.